unhealthy individual. Also, you'll notice some of the blood cells, the membrane is very thickened and illuminated, and again that shows a sample that's not healthy, perhaps even a situation we could call overproteinized. This particular individual has been diagnosed as being HIV positive, and so in this sample I would say we see a very extreme situation of ill health and of great need for some type of intervention. We're looking at a sample of blood taken from the same individual 1 month following a particular protocol. There are very significant and obvious differences between this blood and the blood that we saw in the previous sample. You'll notice how the red blood cells tend to have a better shape. There's less of the spiky cells and the misshapen cells referred to as echinocytes or schistocytes. And what we're seeing here is a much healthier individual, or a person whose health has improved significantly with their protocol that they followed. So this is a significant improvement, an improvement that often takes a number of months to accomplish, but this has obviously been accomplished in a fairly short period of time.
About 5 years ago, I had a friend named Pat, and she had primary liver cancer, and she had asked for help. She had asked me about Hulda Clark and those kinds of things, and she had actually told me that she felt it was all parasite related. And the long and the short of the story is she had gone down to Mexico and spent $40,000, and her cancer was still there. I told her that I'd accidentally gotten a tape from a company that was telling about a device called a magnetic pulsar and another one. It was a blood electrification unit. And so I ordered them and sent them to her, and also some herbs from Hulda Clark. And the long and the short of the story is that her cancer stopped growing. And she's still, it's almost 5 years, I think 4 or 5 years, she's still alive today, alive and kicking. 3 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with colon cancer. It had gone into her lymph system. And I had been a little bit aware of these things because of helping Pat, so I started my mother on it. Then after that, I was diagnosed with 2 abnormal masses on my liver. My mother had just lost her sister and her mother to colon cancer to the liver. And so I didn't wait around to get the same diagnosis that my own mother had had and her sister and my grandmother. I was highly upset. You know, here I'd had everything here to use, but I wasn't really using it. So I started, and then I found out my adopted brother, who's not related to me at all other than by name because he's been adopted, he developed colon cancer as well. So we started him on the program, me on the program, and my mom on the program at the same time. And the program is basically doing the Hulda Clark herbs, black walnut, whole tincture, extra strength, wormwood, and cloves, the combination, making huge lifestyle changes. And we were drinking colloidal silver, started wearing the blood electrification unit for a minimum of 2 hours a day without skipping. And that made sense. I thought, you know, it'll help clean and strengthen my immune system. Started using the something called a magnetic pulsar. It sends a magnetic pulse through your body, and I did that heavily on my liver for 3 weeks, a good couple of hours a day. A lot of crying. You know, you could tell I'm young. I didn't want to die yet, and I live in a nice place. Anyway, started drinking ozone water, freshly made. Started ozonating all my vegetables, anything that would go in my mouth. But after 3 weeks, I went in for a CAT scan, and there was nothing on my liver. And that's been over 2 years now, or yeah, July was 2 years. Since then, we are very careful about what we eat, what we touch, places we go. You know, if we eat out, we'll order something that they have to make fresh, not a burger or something that's been sitting for, you know, who knows how long. You do want to get a candy bar and those kinds of things. And honestly, I do cheat, you know, sometimes, but that is not my lifestyle. Now it's like when we were children, a candy was a snack. And nowadays, a candy or junk food becomes your staple. You can't live like that any longer.
I've had clients who have cancer, and sometimes they will use the magnetic pulsar over the tumor. And we've seen cases where there is tumor shrinkage by medical measurements after using the pulsar. I mean, obvious shrinkage, 15% in 2 weeks, for example.
I was diagnosed in 1987 with chronic fatigue syndrome. I was put on a course of natural products, including vitamin C and different amino acids, some of which helped. I was also put on prescription medication, all of which came together to help with slight increments of improvement. It never completely eradicated the symptoms, and those symptoms include extreme muscle weakness, a lot of flu-like symptoms, fevers, sweats, overall muscle weakness, nausea, but particularly debilitating for me was headaches. Migraine level headaches, but not technically migraine. The other thing is, symptom-wise, is cognitive things, short-term memory, ability to concentrate. I would forget where my car was parked. Well, about 1.5 years ago, I met a nurse practitioner who had symptoms of fibromyalgia. She was very, very ill and was about to have to quit work because of her symptoms. I encountered her a few months later, at which point she seemed very healthy and active, and she told me that she had implemented the Beck protocol and that she was completely off medication and back to work and much improved. So in February of this year, I purchased the equipment, the Beck machine to use on my wrist, as well as the magnetic pulsar, the cloves, the wormwood herbs, and used the Beck machine also to make my own colloidal silver water. I had been feeling very, very healthy and active, and a lot of my concentration, my cognitive things were better as a result of the program. I began to experience the headache again. One day, the weakness in my legs and arms, a little bit of nausea. It occurred to me I hadn't worn the Beck machine on my wrist for probably 3 or 4 weeks, 3 weeks probably. So I put it on. And within 30 minutes, it was so dramatic, very dramatic, that my headache was gone. It wasn't just subsiding, it was gone. And my energy level was back to normal. The weakness in my arms and legs was gone. And that was just after 30 minutes. I did wear it the rest of the day, that day, because clearly the virus was acting up for me to have those symptoms again. Now I use the machine on my wrist more often, at least once a week. I also use the magnetic pulsar on my bladder, or for my bladder, because I had cystitis, interstitial cystitis, which is supposedly a chronic, where I would constantly feel like I had a bladder infection, but there is no infection. Bladder's always irritated, it's very uncomfortable. And the magnetic pulsar completely eradicates those symptoms. I'm no longer on medication. I keep the headache and the other symptoms away using that, and that is very exciting to me. The magnetic pulsar also helps a great deal with the pain. I use it right on across my forehead and temples where the pain is most severe.
I went to Missouri on a trip there, and I contracted what's known as Lyme disease, and I didn't know it at the time that it was Lyme disease. But eventually I started feeling really sick. I started getting headaches all the time. I started feeling very tired, sore throats all the time. My joints ached. I was having a problem with eating. I couldn't eat. It would hurt to eat. So I kind of stopped eating, but I wasn't losing weight. I was actually, I felt like I was gaining weight from this. All I wanted to do was lay in my bedroom and just sleep all day long, and I didn't care about anything else. I was very depressed, and my mom, thank God she stepped in, because she's the one who noticed, and she says, "There's something wrong, I'm taking you to a doctor." Well, at the time I also had a bullseye rash on my wrist, and I didn't know that that was a sign of Lyme disease. When they took tests on me to try to figure out what was wrong, nothing came up. There was nothing